Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions, and another great edition of Danny and Tim's Music Scene. We do it every other Wednesday, and it's part of our Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday platform, and it's presented by Cinematic Visions each Wednesday. And every other Wednesday, we get the great chance to catch up with Tim Finn from In Kansas City Magazine, 90.9 The Bridge, longtime music critic and writer in the Kansas City area, and always great to get his opinions. And as usual, we are all over the map. He's writing in Kansas City Magazine these days about all the great lineup of upcoming shows. He wrote a piece 3 weeks ago, and only one of those shows has happened, so we'll review some of those big shows like the Foo Fighters and Tech Nine and Elvis Costello and on and on and on, and also talk about shows that we may have missed in the past or passed over. And of course, he got to see so many, that list is a lot shorter for him than me. And so we have also some neo-classic rock in the form of a band that my sister clued me into called Dirty Honey. They really, really sound a lot like Aerosmith if you're a fan of that. So all kinds of things on the plate today. Documentary series with Rick Rubin and Paul McCartney, and Venues documentary series called If These Walls Could Rock. We've got all kinds of things to talk about in many, many genres, and it's always fun to run the ideas and suggestions past Tim Finn as we talk music every other Wednesday and this Wednesday, and that starts next.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Visions' goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. Let's have a brief conversation with David Schmidt from Pro Millennial. David, what differentiates you from other financial organizations?
I would say the passion we have for seeing our clients succeed is probably paramount to what we do here. There's no joy greater than watching a client accumulate wealth. I had a client that I've had for many years was able to buy his dream warehouse. Nothing too extravagant, but we had a savings plan in place and was able to see him fulfill his dreams.
And what else motivates you in this industry?
Well, lately it's been finding out inconsistencies in the marketplace, ferreting out some more than questionable ideas out there, that what we're seeing with Bitcoin and a few of these other cryptocurrencies right now. I'm of the opinion where if it's untraceable, it really needs to be regulated in a big way right now.
To get more information and advice from David, visit promillennial.com or call 816-221-7775. That's 816-221-7775. We're here once again with Dr. Brad Woodall from Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Springtime, good weather's finally here. People want to stay active, and it's your job to make sure that they can stay active, and be healthy.
Danny, we see a lot of not just weekend warriors, but people that every day are having that want to get back to activity. Whether you're starting with walking, jogging, or maybe that first 5K of the year, we want to help you out. We specialize in taking care of all ages, from kids all the way to grandmas and grandpas, but absolutely specialize in getting you back to full function and keeping you in great shape.
So in short, how do we go about doing that?
The first thing is to schedule a consultation with one of our doctors and therapists so we can see how you move and how you're supposed to move. Based on our assessment, we can put together a short treatment plan and a set of goals to help you both feel better, function better, and most importantly, stay better for this year and many years to come.
Learn more at asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny. I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing, integrity matters. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Always a pleasure to catch up with Tim Finn. We do so every other Wednesday, right here on Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions. And we've got a lot of things to talk about. And first of all, I did text you last night, and I figure that I'm going to fall into the category of having more things to think about than you are in this regard. But I was listening to the radio yesterday, and a live version of Black Friday by Steely Dan came on, and it was predictably awesome. And Steely Dan has had, obviously, sort of a not checkered, but unusual concert history in the fact that live performance really hasn't been their thing necessarily. And, of course, now one of the founding members has passed. But I never did see Steely Dan, and that has been a regret for me, and now I'm in that position, which I probably was a couple of years ago when I passed on the Rolling Stones and had never seen them. So there are regrets there, and I don't know if Steely Dan came around again that I would do it, but probably using the Rolling Stone example, I would decide yes. But it just made me think of, is there something on maybe your list of acts or whatever that you just haven't seen, which would seem far more unusual in your case than mine, but that you said, well, boy, I should have done that?
Yeah, so if you're talking about opportunities that I passed up, I can't really say there are. Like, I had always wanted to see Tom Waits. I've never seen him. So I suppose if he came around, I would see him, although my expectations would be measured because I've heard different things. He's just someone I'm really interested in, so to be in the same room with him and watch him perform, I would be very interested in that. But I've never had the opportunity. I do regret, I've seen David Byrne many times, well, 5 or 6 times, and every time has been just an absolute joy. The last time he was here, he was at the Kaufman Center, and he did the show that would become a special on HBO Max, which is, I forget what it's called, but it's the stage show was unlike any other. The musicians are using wireless instruments and super choreographed, and just this great presentation, and it gets into, the Black Lives Matter themes. And anyway, he came here in May, and the show was like 2 weeks after I got laid off from the Star, so I had no one to cover it for, and I was kind of in a weird place, and so it was either put out $150 for a ticket or ask for a free ticket, even though I'm not part of the media anymore. So I just let it go, and then I've just heard people don't stop talking about that show. So, and I just think I should have put the money out and gone. Next time I will. But other than that, I can't think. Really, no one comes quickly to mind. I did see Steely Dan twice. They came to Starlight once when Walter Becker was alive, and then after he died, they continued. There was a difference, but they still played those songs, and I would recommend seeing them just because of the band they bring in. It was a fantastic show. So yeah, I would highly recommend it because the band was just outstanding, and some younger people, some contemporaries of theirs, and the crowd that he drew. The first time I saw him, I was in line to get something to eat, and I feel this tap on my back, and I turn around, and Tech Nine is there. he's there to see Steely Dan. And I was like, at first I thought, you like Steely Dan? I'm like, of course you do. You like all kinds of music. He goes, oh, my mom used to play him. I love him. Just all-time favorite band. And, he loved the show. So it is, it was interesting to see who they drew and the makeup of the crowd. And then I was expecting a great show, and it was even better than that. I liked both of the shows. But the first one, because it was the first time I'd seen them, was outstanding.
Well, moving on to something completely different. Last night, we have a lot of things going on in our extended family right now. My mom just got a knee replacement, so there's all kinds of stuff flying around on text streams that I can't respond to and emails and everything else. But my youngest sister, who I am probably the most close to of anyone of my 5 siblings, which seems unusual because she's a decade my junior, but we've developed a great relationship as time has gone on. She's a very unusual person from the standpoint she's the funniest person I've ever been around, maybe. She's the most energetic, but she's a born-again Christian, doesn't party, but she's unbelievable fun. And she loves rock music, and she loves Aerosmith. So I get this email last night, and it says, the next Aerosmith or something like that, Dirty Honey, check it out. And so I did. And it's this band called Dirty Honey, and they were named after the lead singer, was listening to Robert Plant talk about the Honey Drippers on the radio interview. So anyway, he started this band with a guy from the East Coast who was a guitarist and was a big fan of Guns N' Roses and everything, and they started putting out their own stuff, and they actually had a #1 rock radio, whatever that means, hit last fall called When I'm Gone. And I sampled like 3 or 4 videos, and it is, if you liked Aerosmith, or especially vintage Aerosmith, early Aerosmith, it's almost like you're getting Aerosmith. And so, of course, you are not familiar with them yet, although I assume you'll check them out when this. But anyway, the 2 of the videos that you'd check out and you'll get a real sense of it are called Rollin' Sevens and When I'm Gone. And they're easily accessible, obviously, as everything is these days. But it just raised a greater question. I think we've sort of, over the last few years, I've seen many articles talking about the demise of standard, guitar, bass, drums, amps, rock and roll. And we've seen some neo attempts in this regard. Where do you think this might be going, or if it's going anywhere?
Well, I think there have been, there are previous installments in this story. The band The Darkness, which came out, I saw them a couple times, were kind of an old school rock star, 70s rock star band, very flamboyant. And it was guitars and amps, and it was sort of soft metal, very appealing. They were an attractive band live, but could never really elevate themselves into, certainly not arena status. They played theaters and drew 1,200 people. They had a following for sure. And I think maybe had organized a tour, last year, and it was delayed. I don't know. I read something about them. And then more recently, we talked about this before, Greta Van Fleet doing the Led Zeppelin kind of resurrection, which is inescapable. And then they're coy about, well, yeah, but it's not intentional, but it is. But who knows? It doesn't matter. You sound like them. Hey, not a bad band to sound like. They're not as fierce as Led Zepp, but it is that sort of primitive, primal rock music. And I think there's always going to be a passion for that. The bands who started out that way are getting much older, and if they're not retiring, they're not touring as much as they used to, sometimes because they really can't. I mean, Aerosmith is an example, AC/DC. Metallica will tour some more, I'm sure, but they're going on, having been around for 40 years now. So I don't think the appetite for that music is going to go away, but it's going to be hard for bands like that to find a place just in the whole wide music culture. I think hard rock radio is in a state of decline, a slow decline, but it's still losing listenership and popularity. So, but then again, you could say that about a lot of genres of music because there are so many, and there's, the audience is finite, and the number of hours in a day are finite, and what the money people have to spend on music is finite. So definitely there's an appetite for it. I mean, Foo Fighters, we'll talk about them later with Radkey, but the Radkeys are just a trio, guitar, bass, drums. Let's do it. It's muscle rock. It's funky, but it's there's nothing. It's just primal, basic rock and roll. So there are audiences for that for sure. And if you have a little gimmick, it can't hurt. Being compared to Aerosmith will turn some people off, but it'll also turn a lot of people on. It'll make them curious.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And we have expanded the amount when you're talking about an entire huge genre that sells billions of downstreams and albums like rap, which didn't really exist, 30 years ago. Hip hop came first, and there are various, but it's a dominant type of. It's not a niche now, and so maybe it'll sort of other things that once were a dominant genre in music will become a niche type of thing, not disappearing, but not having the place that they ever did. I mean, jazz music was the American pop music for a couple of decades, 2-3 decades, and it now is completely a niche. So it is. I'm not even saying it's cyclical. I just think some things come up, they rise, and they don't go away, but they never may reach again the heights that they once inhabited.
Well, it's the same with the blues. It's a kind of a peripheral genre now. There aren't nearly as many blues labels as there used to be. It's been sort of absorbed by other genres. You have artists who are doing sounds rooted in the blues, but there's no like Alligator Records. It was a big label, and I guess they're still around, but their roster is a lot smaller. Another thing, I had a conversation about this many years ago with someone. I think it might have been at the Darkness show for some reason. We were talking about kind of this very topic, and he was saying a lot of the audience for that music has migrated to country music, which is a lot of it is just rock music,
Right.
It's southern rock, it's hard rock with fiddles, but that country music, modern country music, whatever you want to call it, contemporary country, corporate country radio music has sort of siphoned off or approached the hard rock crowd because there's room in that genre to be a kind of a rock star and flash your guitars and be loud and heavy, and that was another element of, because this guy I was talking to had worked in radio and in live music, and he was bemoaning the fact that this is my music, and I can see it now. I can see into the horizon, and the genre is fading, it's diminishing, and he was sort of crediting and blaming modern country music for it.
Well, I think we've said this before in the podcast. I think you could just up and drop the whole 38 special catalog into, what's now considered, pop country. And to me, it's almost seamlessly would work.
Right. And actually, the lyrics would seem more sophisticated.
Right.
That's just my jab. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's certainly that kind of sound in modern country now.
No question about that. Well, Tim's got some suggestions that he brought to the table, and we will get to those next and talk about, hey, we got shows to talk about, and Tim's back writing about shows, and only one of those that he wrote about in Kansas City Magazine 3 weeks ago for that online product. And, of course, it's a great magazine product as well. We'll talk about that and other things, other suggestions we usually give you to tab your musical enjoyment. That comes your way next on Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions and Danny and Tim's Music Scene.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from WreckExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit wreckexpert.com and learn more. Time to spend a few minutes with my good friend Jeff Dillon from Dillon's Heating and Cooling. And Jeff, what differentiates your company from others in the industry?
Plain and simple, we're honest. We have integrity, and we're going to do things right the first time. There's way too many companies out there that lie, cheat, hide things from the homeowner or customer, and we're not about that. It's kind of funny sometimes. I actually am so honest with some people, it kind of surprises them, but sometimes it's good for business, sometimes it's bad for business, but ultimately it's the kind of business that I want to run, is an honest one.
And that family way of treating things is part of your slogan, and it's also part of one of your great features that you offer to customers.
Our slogan is like family. Our most popular maintenance plan is called the Family Plan. It's very similar to a lot of ones out there. The little tweak that we do to ours, 1% off for every 2 years. They have a continued maintenance plan with us. If they have a maintenance plan for 10 years, then we give them 5% off, no questions asked.
You can find out more about Dillon's Heating and Cooling and all their great range of services at dillonsheatingandcooling.com. That's Dillon's with an S. The phone number, 913-214-1343.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Llewellyn for the 23rd Street Brewery. Thank you so much for supporting local restaurants, especially through this pandemic. And you know what? We're almost through it. At the 23rd Street Brewery, we have brought in a few more tables. You can wear a mask if you want, or not. It's your choice. Other than that, we're open 11:30 every single day. So come see us at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
We're here with Michael Barber, the CEO and founder of Microlight Corporation of America, the world leaders in laser therapy. And Michael, tell us a little bit about your product.
Our device is using a particular wavelength and power to reduce pain and swelling. My background is surgical lasers, but I've been involved with this particular device now for about the last 20 years, actually.
And I know that it works because I've had it
There
used
you go.
on me as well. And tell us about the relationship you have with your company and Canaway.
It's what I call a strategic business relationship in that Canaway, the leader in the field of the cannabinoid systems and CBD oil, but our device used in conjunction with Canaway CBD oil gives a better pain relief outcome for the patient.
And if you want to get that pain relief outcome like I did, you can reach their local representative, Sherry McCants, at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
We're back with Tim. We're talking music. It's just a joy every other Wednesday for me. It puts a big smile on my face and a melody in my heart. There you go. There's an old-timey musical lyric there. And, well, let's start with the list of concerts to whet people's appetite. You picked 9 sort of can't-miss concerts, and only one you could have missed so far because it was Steve Earle on the 9th of July. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law went to that show, as a matter of fact. But there are all kinds of big shows coming up the day before my birthday, as it were, August 5th. The Foo Fighters with Radkey. We got quite a few great shows that are coming up, and big shows too. And it'll be, hopefully this return to somewhat normalcy, which is now hitting some bumps in the road, will only hit bumps in the road, as it were.
Yeah, I think probably since most of these are outdoor shows, they're safe. I mean, who knows what's going to happen between now and November. Right now, there's reason to be a little concerned. But, yeah, the Foo Fighters Radkey show, that's like a huge weekend, the first weekend in August, which is right around the corner because that's also the weekend Garth Brooks is out at Arrowhead. 70,000 tickets have been sold, which triggers a lot of anxiety in me, thinking about being in that environment. I'm not sure I will be, but a lot of other people will be. And then there's Willie Nelson out at the old Sandstone, the new whatever it's called now. So
it is
credit
called
union.
It is called Azura Amphitheater.
Right, correct. And he's out there with ZZ Top. So it's 3 shows in 3 days, 3 big shows, and then there's another one around the corner from that. So yes, that's kind of the unofficial launch of the major shows. There was a show out at just over the weekend. Living Color was down at what used to be called Crossroads KC. It's now Grinders KC, and they were with kind of a weird lineup, Hoobastank and Everclear and Living Color. But I heard great things about the Living Color performance, although lots of people were disappointed because I don't know what happened, whether a band dropped out. But they ended up moving up in Color's starting time, so a lot of people were showing up to see them just as their set was ending, which isn't good.
No.
Especially if you were really looking forward to that show. So anyway, but yeah, and we were out like that. Since the Tantrums played over there, and there were a couple, 1,500 people went to that show. We could see them walking towards the venue as we were out and about downtown. So yeah, people are back, shows are back, and there's a lot going on, especially starting in early August. And the Midland is going to start doing shows, so there's indoor shows happening in the Uptown Theater. Plenty going on in that list I made. I made sure that there were shows in the future so that that list would wear well, and be relevant for more than just a month. But I expect that list will hold up. I don't know. I'm having faith in people that this pandemic will slow down. People will get the shots they need, and we can go see Wilco and bands like that and indoors.
Yeah, absolutely. You're looking down, and of course, it's going to make a transition to indoor, and who knows what. August 27th is Elvis Costello and the Imposters at the Uptown, and Alanis Morissette is at T-Mobile Center with Garbage and Liz Phair. I mean, there's all kinds of great shows, but will we? We just saw Los Angeles County return to a mask mandate. That doesn't mean you can't, have a show, but all kinds of things across the country are going to be a little bit different, and let's hope that we may lose the Olympics here this week. The announcement today that they could have a last-minute cancellation of an Olympics that probably, in my mind, maybe shouldn't have been decided to be forced anyway, with all the restrictions they're putting on the athletes that are taking away the experience.
Yeah.
Of it. But that's a topic for another day and another podcast. But as far as entertainments that we know for sure you can access, fascinating documentary with Paul McCartney and Rick Rubin, which I have not consumed yet, and it is available, and you have sampled it. And there's no more fascinating musical person to me than Rick Rubin, and when he's working with one of the iconic giants of the industry, that's a good mix.
It's a 6-part series on Hulu, and it's called McCartney 3, 2, 1, and it's shot in black and white, which makes it, for some reason, it affects the mood of it in a good way, because Rick Rubin's got this big, long silver beard, and McCartney's hair is mostly silver, so there's this like platinum feel to it. I don't know, it really sets the mood, and I kind of prefer black and white. Anyway, it's basically Rubin and McCartney around this console revisiting the Beatles in kind of a loose fashion. They go to songs and talk about the songs, and other moments McCartney just sort of, there's not so much Rick Rubin in here because McCartney is so willing and so garrulous that I bet the conversation ratio McCartney to Rubin is somewhere around 8-1, probably over a 30-minute span. But it is fascinating. Well, I guess it's, I don't know, fascinating. A lot of it I'd already heard, but there's more details, or there's a little anecdote that I hadn't heard. Because if you're a real Beatle fan like I am, I was 5 years old when they blew into my life, and they've been around ever since, pretty much. But it's just his enthusiasm for it, his attention to detail. I'm sure he's probably manipulating history a little bit, because two of the Beatles are dead. They can't refute anything he says. And
Right.
I don't think Ringo's going to object to much. So his version of history is going to prevail. But what really struck me after watching the first three is, like, he seems to be a guy, he's 78, who has gone through life pretty emotionally unscathed. I mean, his wife died, obviously, that was a big loss. She was his soulmate. They were very close, and he suffered that. And, Lennon being murdered and George Harrison dying also, boyhood friends, pretty much. But for a guy who's 78, he just seems as optimistic and cheery and enthusiastic as he's ever been. And, he even admits in the first episode, when he found out about John Lennon's upbringing and his mother and no father, and, like, I didn't know people lived that way. Like, I had a perfect family, mother, father, great marriage. Music was in the house, got along with my siblings. So that whole spirit he's kind of sustained that throughout his life. And there's a lot of that when he's recalling moments in songs and songwriting moments. There's a lot of detail here, but it's all really cool. Even if it's just bringing up a chord he and George had learned at a guitar store, some chord they'd never seen before. He could show it, but couldn't name the chord, and how it made its way into the song Michelle and kind of changed the sound of that song. So it's really interesting for him to talk about kind of what we already knew, which is what they were just digesting information and experimenting with music in ways that no one else really had. And there were three really bright minds doing it together, plus George Martin, maybe the brightest of all the minds, and which is how the Beatles ended up doing what they're doing. Rubin kind of comes off as just an astonished fanboy sometimes, just going, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. It's yeah. I mean, if you're interested in the Beatles, even if it's lukewarm, by all means watch it. It's really easy to watch. It goes by fast, and but just just all the stuff just keeps coming at you, and it's been watching those two bounce around and sing along to some of the great Beatles songs is really it's entertaining.
Also on Access TV, which on my cable system I have lost. I knew it was fleeting, but I'll find another way to access a series they have going, which is about venues, and it's every Wednesday, so people who have Access TV can make that sort of appointment television. One of them, I guess, was fascinating to you. One was a little bit disappointing, but it sounds like a great series.
Right. It's called If These Walls Could Rock, and they the tagline is, we explore some of the most beloved music venues in the country. And the first episode, I've seen two. They've broadcast two. The third one will be broadcast this week. The first one was at this place in Charleston, on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina, called Old Brick Church. It's this church that was very small. I think the capacity, when it's full, is like 90 to 100 people. There's a little balcony up on top. It's got nothing in it, no plumbing, no electricity, so they have to wheel in generators and, portable bathrooms when they do shows there. This focuses a lot on the history of Charleston and its music history and its roots in jazz, and because it was a port for slavery, so where a lot of the ships docked and came in, and
right.
A lot of the music from West Africa started there, and it's influenced the city. And the history of this building, there was a colonial church there that burned down, and then in the early 1800s they rebuilt it. This church that still stands, it's in the middle of a cemetery. There's some headstones there that are going back to the Civil War, so it's kind of a fascinating environment, and the room is really great. So that's really informative. And each episode has a music guest that talks about the place. And Vintage Trouble was a band that they talk about the venue and they perform a song. They're really kind of an old school, kind of taproot soul, blues, R&B band. Really good. And they perform inside the venue. And then the second episode last week was the Troubadour in LA. Jackson Brown is the go-to guy. He does a solo acoustic performance at the end of the show. He talks about how important it was. They were kind of lacking. One of the spokespeople was one of the members of Guns N' Roses, his name escapes me. And his daughter was also part of it. She's in a band that has not performed there. She kind of served as this newer, younger generation that's talking about
right
the history of the Troubadour, but it was kind of shallow and empty. Like, she hopes to play there someday. And they talked to a doorman who, had a couple good stories to tell about Elton John walking in the back door with John Lennon on his first night there. So there's moments like that, and it really gets to the point is made probably with like 7 or 8 minutes left, so it feels like there's some redundancy. I was a little disappointed that they couldn't have more of the artists.
Yeah, because everybody played there.
Oh yeah, they made that point. They had photos of obviously John Lennon was walking in with Elton John. At some point that was not a big deal. So it was a little, and it was only 22 minutes. So, but I remember thinking, okay, I guess let's get Jackson Browne. Maybe he'll do 2 songs, but he did one. But that was, it's worth seeing. And then this week's is Red Rocks, which I'm interested in seeing.
Right.
It's a full 30-minute episode, so I don't know a lot about that place. I've never seen a show there, but boy, anyone who has sure has a lot to say about it.
Yeah, and it just, I've seen so many pictures of it, and it looks like, I've got to go to see a show there someday, and I probably won't, but there's a regret that we started out. So we've come a bit full circle on this, Tim. We always appreciate the input, the great shows that are coming up, and probably be back to reviewing some of those shows and things like that. Always great to catch up with you, and let's just hope that we continue to get past these stumbling blocks, as I said, and continue our musical momentum, which we've got a little bit of right now for the first time in a while.
I sure hope so, yeah. We don't need any more interruptions.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Cinematic Visions, an affordable and award-winning solution for professional media production since 2003.